Live. Oh, we're live now. All right, cool. Hopefully, this also records as well. Anyway, welcome to Southern Scrap Nation's podcast. Your host, as always, Daniel Jonas, here, back again, Charlotte, North Carolina. It is March 8th, 2023, around 10 o'clock. So we're live on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. And hopefully this will also record so I can post it later. Actually, I don't need to post it later. It should just record on YouTube. So, perfect. I'll just take the audio from this and you guys will be able to listen to it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify, and all those other listening apps as well. Remember, before we continue, to hit the subscribe button, because if the more you subscribe and the more people will see it, and I can bring you more stuff, and it'll grow, and we all know. Also, hit that noti bell so you know when I'm live, and you can put this on when you're working, or if you don't have any work, you can put this on at home, and you can watch me in real time and ask me questions. Possibly, I think I can answer those. We'll figure all this out. But today what we'll be going over is UFC 285 and Jon Jones's amazing performance and Alexa Grasso's awesome ability to take the championship from the Valentina Shevchenko, and anything else from that card that I saw that I like to talk about, especially my boy Shavkat. That was an awesome performance on his part, and I liked a lot of things that I saw in that fight that I wasn't completely on the train before, because I was on the there are two sides of the fence in MMA, I guess people are standing on. One side is Chimaev's the next big thing, and then the other side is no, Shavkat is. And watching Chimaev already have his, as you would say, his fight, his dog fight. We got to see that out of Shavkat finally. When the tough gets going, what happens? And then what else on that card? We can talk about Bo Nickel as well. Prospect, now 4-0, which is pretty big deal, especially if your first UFC fight is on the pay-per-view. So you're getting pay-per-view points, which is pretty cool. So what should they have fast rolled him out of the Dana White Contender Series and given him a fight right away? Yeah, probably. But if I'm Bo Nickel, I'm like, fuck yeah, give me two, or sorry, give me two. Give me two Dana White Contender Series fights, not the toughest competition, and then put me onto the pay-per-view, so that way I get pay-per-view points at least if all doesn't go well. But doesn't have to worry about that, luckily for him. And then obviously we'll be going into MMA news, whatever happened in the week, whatever is going to happen this week, and then we'll go into what's going to happen this weekend with the UFC Fight Night, because they don't stop rolling, or as Burt Watson used to say. For those that don't remember, there used to be this hype man in the back. His name is Burt Watson. Was one of the best guys as far as when you were getting ready for Fight Night. You would hear him in the back. He'd be like, "We're rolling," and he would get the production team moving. He moved on to, I think, other promotions or whatever, but he was cool. That was a cool. It was a cool little thing that you don't really think about. It's almost like Mike Goldberg, the commentator. I like everyone that we have now. Don't get me wrong, but the Joe Rogan, Mike Goldberg back and forth was just great. It's quintessential to the UFC, and I think Burt Watson is part of that. When you heard him, when you heard Rogan and Goldie, when you heard those two, you knew what was going. Now it's not to take anything from John Anik or Brendan Fitzgerald, but they're they're announcer voices. They're not anything. They're almost like they're trying to not emulate Goldie, but it's kind of the same cadence. And then you can throw any fighter in there, and it's good commentating. I'm not going to take that away. I mean, obviously but I think once we lose Rogan, it'll definitely feel different from the 2010s early 2000s. It'll feel different. All right, let's get this started with... Also, if you're in Charlotte, come train with us. Sunscrap Nation, come to the dojo, come to the studio. One-on-ones available all the time, except for times that they aren't available because I have one-on-ones already. But majority of the time, they're available. I can come to you. You can come to me. I work at Triumph as well. We do some cross-training, MMA nights, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 8:15. Come for this stuff earlier. They got Justine Kish there. She teaches Muay Thai. It's a great class. Former UFC fighter. So definitely come by. And then on top of that, what else? Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy, always stop by. They're great. Open mats. Come by open mat striking at CLT Muay Thai. Charlotte Jiu-Jitsu Academy, same place. But we do striking Saturdays and Sundays at 11. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Punch each other in the face. Kick each other in the legs. Fun times. And then obviously always come by. Stop by. Say hi. I'd love to train with anyone that listens. I think that's fun. And I can help you all out. All right. So let's go over this past weekend at UFC 285. What happened? What are the big stories? Obviously, we'll start with the main one. Jon Jones, Ciryl Gane, makes it look easy. I mean, I can... Don't get me wrong. From all the shit I talked Thursday... When did I do it? Tuesday? I think I did it Tuesday. When I did the breakdowns Tuesday, all the way up until Saturday night, Sunday morning, the just crossing my fingers that Jon Jones does it, and like, I haven't been nervous for a fight in a while. I mean, besides my own fighter, but I mean, UFC fight, I haven't been nervous in a while. But this one, just, I was laying back in a lazy boy, and I put the leg rest down, and I got to the edge of the seat, and I'm like, come on, Jon. But, I mean, GOAT, obviously. First off, GOAT in the sport. And you can say whatever you want. His picograms, they got overturned, so as much as there's controversy there and then controversy in his personal life, what happens in the cage, my opinion is, that all aside, he is the fighter that he is against anybody in the world. He's pound for pound, and he's the greatest of all time. His accolades, his achievements, on top of the weight class he does it at, and how he does it, and against who, and then on top of all that, right now he's competitive. And then if you were to put him in there against the top pound-for-pound fighters, Islam and Volk, obviously Jon comes out of there a champion, because he's now a heavyweight. So, technically about the fight, what to break down about it? First off, on the mental warfare front, it all starts before the fight, and Jon was saying all the right things. I mean, during the embedded, you saw Ciryl Gane playing his FIFA. I mean, he's top 60 in the world in FIFA. You gotta keep up appearances. Don't care if it's fight week. If you got games, you got games. He's playing FIFA during embedded, and Jon's watching tape, and Jon comments because he then watches the embedded, because he's just... I mean, any psychological advantage he can take, he's trying to tune in for it. When he saw one, he's like, while he's playing video games, I'm studying combat. Perfect. By the end of the fight week, it just seemed like, mentally, Jon wants to improve his legacy. He wants to do things that others have never done. Ciryl Gane just seemed happy to be there. And you saw that all the way up until the walkout. Ciryl comes out and does the thing. Does the walkout. The one thing about the mental aspect of the game is, for example, when Jon comes out for his walkout, he doesn't walk out until champ is here. He lets the God gave me style, God gave me great. He lets that all play out. He doesn't, so for at least 30 seconds to a minute, no one's walking out. It's dead quiet. And Cyril's just standing there like, what is happening? Then finally, you see him on the screen. Champ is here. He walks out. He does his whole thing. But instead of getting to the commission, instead of getting to the referees to get the grease on and check the fingernails and do the whole body check and everything, he sees his parents. He says, "Oh, what's up?" And he goes and he, hugs his mom, dad, family. He gets a little prayer in. He says, "What's up" to everybody. He then has personal messages from each one of his coaches. And then he goes, and then he gets all that stuff on, the grease and everything. Obviously, the toe getting wrapped and the foot getting wrapped. John's broke his toe, so he's got like a lingering injury issue that understandable. And so he wraps his toes, and he says that if he's not allowed to wrap his toes, he's not going to fight. Once again, understandable. You're the GOAT. You're the champ. You can do what you want. But all plays into, while all that is happening, what is Ciryl Gane doing? Standing half naked in a cold-ass arena. Just trying to get warmed up. You did all that warming up in the back. The reason why you blow your legs out, you do a really good warm-up to the fact that you're sweating before you fight, is because it's a warm-up, but you're getting your body ready. Because then there's going to be that moment where you have to sit there, wait. Where you walk out to is a cold arena. What you walk out to is typically cold, unless you fight outside. But typically it's cold. The mat's kind of cold. Like everything is the antithesis of what you need to be. And that's warm, loose, and flowing. And Jon came out. He was dancing. All these little things that once he was doing that, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. And my biggest personal thing to know if it's a good night for Jon is this. If he goes out there and does his quintessential handspring, one-handed, he didn't do it this time because I'm sure the added weight makes it a little bit harder to do one-handed. But he would do the one-handed handspring. Now he did the two-handed. But he did that, and I go, oh, it's on. Think about all the fighters. Think about all the fighters that have like crazy walkouts, and sometimes they overdo it. But even think about the fighters that have, like Izzy will dance or whatever. None of them do a handspring. The sheer athleticism and like ability and confidence to do that before a fight and the body control and all those little things, like that's what makes him a phenomenal athlete. Most people are super nervous. But to do just a handspring in the middle of the cage and then get to your, like, these are the little things. And watching him before I was a coach and watching him now as a coach, it's like different. I get to see two different sides. Because before I was watching him as a fan, I'm just like, oh, that's Jon. It's fun. Now I have to watch every single little aspect and see what is the benefit, what makes him who he is, and analyze him as a person and an athlete. And those are little things. As an athlete, as a coach, you're not worried so much about. More as a coach, you're not so worried about like the walkout and all that. That's all personalized towards the fighter. Do what you feel is best. But as a coach, I'm kind of telling an athlete, don't waste your energy. Don't do a front handspring. Also, you could slip. You could hurt yourself. But Jon is he's that guy. He's him. And so we get into the fight. Fight happens. They touch gloves. Or I don't even know if they touch gloves. Jon stalks him. Obviously, he gets kicked in the nuts. First 2 seconds. Open stance versus open stance. Gane throws an inside leg kick. It slides kind of up Jon. Jon's like ducking for a jab. He gets right back in there. Kind of slows down the pace of the fight. In Gane's, what that could have worked in Gane's favor is it could have just slowed it down and got his bearings a little bit better. But it didn't. Jon just took a little bit of time. He wanted the ref to acknowledge that happened. He was seeing that there was different things happening that night. There were little fouls and stuff that weren't getting acknowledged, so he just wanted to make sure that it was acknowledged and that he set a precedent for the rest of the match. Like, if it happens, I'm getting my breaks. In case things happen. Eye pokes, whatever. Throws an overhand left hand, and they move around. So then Gane throws his power right, down the middle. Jon slips, gets his head outside the line, and he immediately grabs a body lock. These are things that I even teach Xavier, my amateur fighter, and anyone that I coach. In MMA, specifically, in boxing, right? When you slip a punch, the purpose of slipping a punch isn't to slip and move your head away. It's not to pull your head back. It's to slip and get inside so you can throw your own shot, right? If I slip to the outside of my jab, I have my right hand's loaded and I can throw an uppercut, right hand, and I can beat their hand back to the position. That's why I'm slipping. I'm slipping to get inside, maybe touch them to the body with my left as I do, or my lead, and then throw my power side as it's loaded before their hand comes back. In MMA, or even in kickboxing, I can slip and throw a leg kick. There's more tools and pathways I can take. But if I know my opponent's weakness is wrestling, and I'm slipping, and I know the purpose of slipping is to close distance and get inside, why not just wrap around them? Grab the body lock, which he did, which is the most extremely powerful position. Because what your opponent has to do now with a body lock is fight the hands. And if you're not fighting the hands and breaking the grips, you're not going anywhere. So Jon, now being 250 pounds, drags Ciryl to the ground and does something very, very smart. He sits back on the legs when he's in turtle position. So imagine trying to stand up, especially if it's on the side that's against the cage. As you stand up, the leg that's attached to you has a 250-pound weight attached to it. You're not going to just stand up. And all Cyryl's pathway is to stand up. He doesn't have jiu-jitsu. He doesn't have like counter wrestling, if you will. His only path is to stand up. So Jon can be very patient and just burn him out. As Gon tries to circle back to the cage, all Jon does is it's a knee tap. Typically in turtle position, you would reach across and tap the other knee to collapse them onto their far hip. However, in this fight, he grabs the inside knee and, I'm just going to do this. Or inside hook, heel hook, or not, or inside inside ankle to collapse into the far knee. Let's just do this. Maybe I just So he grabs the inside ankle and tips him over. Fun stuff. And from there, it's just getting to the next position in order for Ciryl never to be able to gain his ground again. Is this even going to give me? No, it's not. It's not going to even do that for me. Maybe CBS has it. Anyway, that was also something really cool that Jon was doing. Anytime Ciryl would throw an outside leg kick, he would reach and throw his right hand. It is a typical MMA counter. It's exactly what you do in MMA. But for Ciryl, he wasn't used to the reach. Jon is able to reach him as he's kicking. And two, the act of, I'm gonna shoot for a takedown, but also not. I'm punching you in the face. Do two at one time, because it can also lead to an ankle pick if you just push their weight back. These are just little MMA tricks that Ciryl always separates he always separates his opponent, separates the game plan from his opponents, right? He forces everyone into a kickboxing match. It's not that Jon is going to stand on the outside and kickbox. He's going to do that gray area. He's going to fight you. He's going to throw punches as he goes for a takedown. He's going to slip a punch like you would in kickboxing to achieve a takedown. So then from there, Jon just works to... Not even in here. He works to... There you go. These are little small. Okay, so here, slips to the outside like I was saying. Body lock. One of the strongest positions, hands together. Ciryl starts to fight the hands, but he can't because as he's falling, he has to brace himself as he falls to the ground. You can fight the hands and then face plant, sure, or the natural human reaction as someone drags you to the ground, base out. So then from there, Jon collects the legs with his own legs, and then so Ciryl tries to get up, and then Jon laces the legs, and then Jon does what Henry Cejudo was telling him in that video, which Jon would have done anyways, but it's a good point. If you're going for the body lock, and they're trying to escape, they're trying to run as far, you're behind them, they're trying to run out, they're trying to get away from you. If that's the case, their hips are they're so forward, and they're trying to leave, that if you just change the angle and meet their hips, then you can essentially sink them down, just like here in this position where you just switch to a double, because they're feeding you the hips. You just have to make the adjustment and get them yourself. And now all their weight's going back. Typically when they do that, you can sink them back, but Jon was so low on the hips, he would have had to just shoot his hips the other way. And that's how he got the takedown. And then from there, as Ciryl is seated against the cage, because at this point, this is Ciryl accepting the takedown. If Ciryl didn't want to accept the takedown, his left hand right now, the one that's around Jones's head, would have been pushing on his head, and he would be getting his hips to the sky. Yeah, you're giving your back, but you have the cage there to nullify them from being able to completely take the back, especially if you use it to get your hips and then stripped along the side. Using the cage almost like the ground. If someone has my back, I'm using the ground to scrape them off my back and getting my shoulders to the mat and then turning and facing them. Here he's accepted. His butt's on the ground. He's not fighting anymore. All Jon now has to do in order to advance the position is get to the next stop. And that's getting his hips above Ciryl Gane's knees and then engaging his hips into Ciryl Gane. If my head and chest, shout out to the great Faraz Zahabi, if my head and chest are above your head and chest, I will win every scramble. And what makes the Dagestani so great is that's what they do. They get to the next position before you do in grappling, and that's how they maintain control. Remain in control or maintain control. And also from here, I can see what's happening. I can look down at my opponent, whereas my opponent is having to fight, and this is the concept of I'm drowning. Look, if we're in the water, and this is the water line, right? It's right here. It's like right at Jon's waist. That's where the water is. Jon is now alive. He's breathing. His head's above water. Cyryl's drowning. This is him drowning him. Ciryl needs to get his head above Jon's head. But Jon doing a good job, obviously, being the GOAT. Has Cyryl's head pressed down. Tries to get the head choke or the guillotine choke. It's not working. But that's fine. What he does is he lets it go for a quick second. Ciryl then pops his head up to try to establish his base again. And then he's right back on it. And then he gets the tap. I mean, as far as performances go, this is by far one of his best. How quickly most people must have forgot. Jon is one of the best mixed martial artists of all time. If not, he is the best mixed martial artist of all time. Heavyweights don't really have mixed martial artists right now. Stipe is probably the most complete mixed martial artist, but even then, he doesn't throw kicks. So what's your competition in at heavyweight? It's a lot of just specialists, and they're making their way through it. And so when you have a guy that people just don't remember, that now has fire and a passion in him, yeah, that's prime Jones. That's what Jon used to be like. So that Dom Reyes fight, the Thiago Santos, those two fights, the ones that like actually gave him trouble. Those guys are faster. Jon's not, the passion's not there. But this is the opposite. Jon's fast. He's got the passion now. And it shows. When he gets you down, I mean, so his jiu-jitsu matches his wrestling. A lot of people have really good wrestling, but they don't have the finishing capabilities on the ground. Jon matches that. Anyway, so what's next for him? He's going to fight Stipe. I think that's a great fight. I think he just smokes him. I think we see the return of the elbows. I think we see Jon post on his head just like Rashad, and then elbow him, and then get him to the ground. Half guard, elbow, elbow. Make Stipe's head bounce off the canvas. I think it's going to be brutal. Stipe's had time off, but Stipe's also not. Stipe's also older. He is a firefighter. He doesn't give a fuck about MMA like Jon does. Jon's everything Stipe is, but on top of that, he's also wants to be a martial artist. Stipe is a great fighter, great competitor, but that martial arts component I don't think is there, right? He likes to box, cool. Likes to wrestle, cool. He embraces the grind. He's DC mentality, but I just think the knees or the leg or the kicks, the knees from Jon are going to be the difference. And that's all going to set up his elbows and takedowns and all that. And I think it'll be a great fight. And my thing is, Jon wants to beat Stipe for Stipe being the GOAT of the heavyweight division. Because he is. He's had the most title defenses of all time at heavyweight. I want to see how many title defenses. And this is the reason why I'm wondering. Is because if Stipe, or if Jon wants to, okay, he's got 1, 2, 3. So 3. He's got to defend it. Jon would have to defend it 4 times. And that seems like that does seem like a lot, because so his first fight would be against Stipe. If he wins that, that's 1 defense. Then what's next for him after that? Like who would he get up for him to want to defend the title 3 more times after that? But if he did, he would be the greatest heavyweight of all time, on top of being the greatest light heavyweight of all time. If he beats Stipe, yeah, he does, I guess, take that title. But at heavyweight, wins to me are more impressive if you beat a guy and then, I mean, I guess this last fight was pretty impressive against Cyril Gane in that sense as a heavyweight, because it was kind of like checkmate, right? If you kind of checkmate Stipe, then I'll give it to him. Then it's like no need for a rematch. But most heavyweight fights, you can argue for rematches because they either end in a knockout or something where you're like, oh, damn, if only. But I guess that makes sense. Like Francis versus Stipe wasn't really we could use. No. Yeah, it wasn't like really we could use a rematch. He finally got one because he earned it. But it's not like we could have needed it, I guess. But yeah, Jon. I think Jon's prediction for this fight is pretty spot on. He's gonna finish it before the championship rounds. I think so, personally. All right. So now that I've wasted a lot of time on that, let's talk about Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso. I can't ever take credit for it because I'll always say bet against a very heavy favorite. But I will say with Alexa Grasso, on the sense that I was correct, was her experience and that Mexican fighting, like the lack of getting deterred. But what I liked that she was doing, and it started all in that first round, she cracked Valentina twice. And I think that, I mean, you turned a Muay Thai champion into a girl that was shooting doubles on you. Even if she didn't win the fight just through like sheer Valentina taking her down and then holding her there. Because in that second round, she got her down and then she started getting into crucifix and I was like, oh shit, this is over. But everyone's talking about the taking her back and everything like that. Bro, the work she put in that first round, she would feint the hands in order to draw, like she would start punching out of range, right? But in a way where she's trying to like get her feet in, like she's punching out of range, and Valentina's going like, okay, well she's missing me or she's trying to set something up. So whenever Alexa would actually start to punch and step into range, it's like getting the car started, getting it moving. She'd punch into range. As soon as Valentina would throw something, Alexa would pull and counter, and then close distance, and then get the power behind the shots, and then that's where those bigger shots would come in. Let's see. And then the next two rounds were, they were pretty spot on as far as as Valentina goes. She's really got one thing. The double leg was one, but it's really double unders and then a takedown. And she gets the side control and then she tries to get the crucifix. What I saw in this fight is exactly what I think Alexa's corner saw. And that's just so right here. So yeah. Ooh. So what Alexa also did was she was attacking in southpaw. She took away Valentina's kicks. Valentina's kicks are all the traditional Thai kicking, right? You attack the open side with your power side, and then it keeps their hands, especially a boxer, nice and close. If I'm Valentina, what she should have been doing to reestablish her game is then, if Alexa wants to switch southpaw, switch orthodox. See what I'm saying? Like, you're never give them that look. And then if you orthodox, right? If Valentina switched orthodox, then her power would be in her front, and then I would say throw your rear kick as an orthodox against the southpaw to set up your left hooks to the body, or your left kicks, which are now your power side, or which is now the lead side, but are your power side, is your power punches and kicks now just from the lead side. So this is what I'm saying. Let's bring that back. So okay. So right here, like I was saying, she's in orthodox, or she's in southpaw, and that's why she was doing a really good job against Alexa, keeping her at kicking range. But then as soon as Alexa switched southpaw, see how she's entering with her lead foot? Boom. She steps through, and as she clears that distance, she could pull the lead hand down if she wants. Very, very Usman versus Masvidal. I mean, this is Usman versus Masvidal 1, and that cracked her hard. Right. Boom. Another one. And then out. Yeah, she takes a little bit of a leg kick on the way out. She uses that jab to close all that distance. Boom. Look at that crack. Look at that. Chin to the other side. Boom. And then followed by the left hook. So that's where she was timing the right hands for the takedowns. But once again, you're making a striker shoot double legs. See, the head's low. If you're Alexa, you're pushing that head to the mat. That's how you want to get that stand up going. But see, now this is the difference. Watch this. Now Alexa's not stepping through. She's in range. She's head over chest. Not the biggest fan of that, but or head over knee. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Boom. Look at that right hand. Connects. And then she would have been right back at that jab. She would have been pulling that weight back, just getting away. So, what everyone, the biggest point of the fight was Valentina throws a spinning back kick, and Alexa, just like Jon, closes distance and just immediately grabs a body lock. You know, between Jon and the Valentina, or the Jon fight and the Alexa fight, Jon's not 125 pounds, so he didn't immediately jump on Valentina's back or on Cyril's back. But Alexa just jumped on her back using the body lock. She just pulled herself up and started immediately attacking the choke. Now, Valentina didn't fight the hands at all, but with the momentum, it's the same concept. Like, Cyril could either start fighting the hands, or he could face plant on the mat and get knocked out. Valentina chose, obviously, to protect her face. Hand hit the mat, and by that time, I mean, the choke was so deep that she didn't even try to, she didn't try to fight the hands at all, even then. But getting it so deep at that point, she's probably just hoping that since it wasn't underneath the chin, that it was gonna be enough that, oh, I'll just survive. But no, once that hand starts getting behind the head and you get the rear naked choke in, it's a lack of like squeezing. I'm not squeezing my hands together. I'm not like squeezing. That's not the point of the choke. The point is, if I get it deep enough, I'm gonna use my back to start pulling your head and your neck and all that. So even if it doesn't choke, the compression I'm making from pulling, using my back muscles, and then also pushing my elbow down, it doesn't have to be under the chin. I'm going to break your jaw. I'm pretty sure pretty sure Davi Hamosh broke someone's jaw in the UFC. Might not have talked about it. I mean, as far as his opponent might not have said anything about it, but I'm pretty sure he broke his jaw. Because it's just that strong. Like, if you have the squeezing mechanics, it doesn't matter if your chin's underneath. And that's the difference. I think Valentina does a lot of work on how to maintain dominant on top and how to be dominant. But I don't think a lot of her jiu-jitsu's worked on like submission defense, submission offense. I don't think she does a lot of jiu-jitsu. Alexa, I'm pretty sure, is a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. To become a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, you have to be pretty proficient, if not, extremely proficient in the gi. And no gi, obviously, but you're doing a lot more jiu-jitsu classes, right? You're getting your reps and all the finishing mechanics. And like when someone uses their chin or whatever, that's a very blue belt, white belt thing. They're like, whatever, like, go for it. Where Valentina, I don't think she's had enough time in the submission defense, like defense world. I think she's done a lot more basic stuff, like how to defend the position before it gets there. But then Alexa Grasso is just like, I'm gonna hit you with that position, and where you probably don't get reps in it, right from top, like right from back mount, like right from body lock to back mount. All right, so congrats to that. 3 Mexican champions. So Jeff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. I love that fight. Definitely fight of the night for sure. Shavkat, what I got to see from him is really mostly this. And his finish was a little bit of a nod to Jon. But what I'm going to give to him is this. When the tough gets going, Shavkat fucking loves it. And that's what I love about him, is that when things got hard in Jeff Neal's fight, when he got cracked, when he got rocked, he would smile and he'd be like, that's what I'm here for. I love this. This is what I want. I want to fight. I was just finishing people before. Now you're giving me a fight. And he made it a point to finish him. 3rd round. I don't know how many seconds are left, but he finishes him. 17 wins, 17 finishes. Man's a menace. He's a problem for anyone in that division. Mateusz Gamrot versus Jalen Turner. Good fight. Yeah, takedowns really won him that. And then the Bo Nickel versus Jamie Pickett. Obviously, there was like Obviously, there was like a little bit of a groin strike, and the ref, I guess, didn't see it. Sucks. And then Jamie Pickett wins by submission. Yeah, it sucks because that's the fight game. Yeah, it's awful. They didn't stop it. Jamie probably deserved 5 minutes. For all you guys out there, you know, he said he felt like he was going to throw up. We all know if it gets hit hard enough, you want to throw up. So, I get it. Just a shame, you know? It's a shame. It's a shame. Other than that, Cody Garbrandt back in the winning column. And Dricus du Plessis beating Derek Brunson. I want Dricus versus Paulo Costa banned. He says he doesn't want that fight, or like Paulo lost his chance or whatever, but it's like, give me that fight, bro. Give me it. All right, before we get into this, let me go ahead and check out. Okay, perfect. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Right on time. Doing a lot of Jerry Seinfeld impressions right now. What's the deal? God. Wait, I was hugging Ian. He was bumped into by the man. Thought I was also hit. We were so close to go. The man wants to fight Ian, and I'm asking, does he know who? Well, that's pretty lame, dude, to be honest. It's a pretty, like, lame story, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So, he's hugging the grandma that loves the UFC so much. She's... I get fans are great. And I get she's a loving old sweet lady. But why? You know? I get she's an old fan. I get it, dude. I understand the marketing potential behind that. Like, oh, look at this sweet lady. She loves UFC fighters. She's at the PI every day waiting outside with signs for every single one of them to take pictures with. I just don't like care about that. And so when she posts this, it's like, it's all clout chasing. This is all clout chasing. It's the most, like, in a sport where clout is just something that is done by the actions you do in the cage. And Ian Garrett, like, that's what should be the story, right? They're taking a picture of him doing, once again, something that McGregor made. Hey, guys, in the UFC, I know he made it popular, and he took it from someone else. But do something. Be your own person. Be creative, right? Obviously, there's inspiration that Connor took from, I think Vince McMahon was the one that did the noodle arm thing, the millionaire walk or whatever. But then he did it, and then all the football. But it's like, either come up with your own thing or take inspiration from something else. I'll at least give it to Izzy. Izzy's not the first one to like the anime stuff, but at least he's creative. At least he's doing hand signs. He's writing a death note. Like, if you get it, if you know, you know. But Ian Machado is an Irish dude doing the Irish thing. It's like, dude, we've already seen. He's an Irish guy with girl tattoos. Like, we've already seen that. Not the girl tattoo, but we've already seen the Irish guy doing that. Do your own thing. Also, not really that Irish. Lives in Florida. Trains in Florida. Not. Mom, I want to watch Conor McGregor. We got Conor McGregor at home. That's what I have from this. He will be more agmatic. I'm trying to think of the word, but point being is I'll get on that hype train. I'll get on the Ian Machado hype train. I'll get on all that. I'll do all that. His performances are great. But once he finds his own person, because right now he's trying to be the Irish guy, he's trying to be the Conor McGregor, like he's trying to be the dad guy, like he's trying to do all these different things. You got to be your own person. Otherwise, it's fake. All that looks fake to me. And in a sport where being fake isn't worth anything, I'm not going to get on the hype train. I'm just not. What gets me on the hype train is like Shavkat, for example. He doesn't speak any English. He's pretty in the know about MMA culture and stuff like that and MMA news, so I'll give him that. That's pretty. I like that about him. It's almost like Fedor-ish. Like Fedor knows, he just doesn't speak English and he doesn't really speak a lot. And then Shavkat's kind of that same thing. Like he doesn't speak English, but he knows what's going on in MMA. But how he wins me is like he shows up and he fights Jeff Neal and he has fun. And that's it. I don't need to watch his. I don't need to watch anything. I don't need to watch his interviews. I don't need to know about his life. I don't know whatever. Ooh, Miesha Tate returns versus Mayra Bueno Silva. Thinks that I agree. He needs time. He's only got 4 fights. He needs time. What, you're going to start fighting the middleweight top guys? No. He's even calling out Chimaev. And he says he's going to like make it look like, what? What are you talking about? There's like a mentality that he also has to build. Wrestling mentality is great, but there's a fight mentality you also have to build as well. Because when the going gets tough in fighting, wrestling isn't obviously always the best option. Especially if they know you're going to wrestle. It's instinctively in him to wrestle. So when he gets hurt, what's he going to do? And yeah, I mean, argument is like stop his wrestling. It's like eventually you're going to find people that are going to stop his wrestling. Or he's going to find out it's not that easy to just shoot from outside range. Like, you have to close distance. And in order to close distance on somebody, think about the people that he would have to close distance on. Obviously. Merab details altercation with Petr Yan. What? Yeah, Akira. Usman versus Leon Edwards 3 coming up. If you don't watch me, you should at least watch Dan Hardy's War Room. Yeah, Yasmin. Chick's so good. Jiri Prochazka versus Jamal Hill will be interesting. Must be nice. Look at those drinks they have. They have drinks in glasses at an event. That's how you know he owns that place. He has glasses at a sporting event. And the front row. He has glass. People don't understand. Yeah. You may bring in some viewers. You may have some YouTube followers. But you're not bringing glass into the front row of a UFC event. Conor's different. Kron Gracie returns against Charles Jourdain. It's a great fight. And also, shout out to Charles for getting that fight. It's actually a really hard fight for Kron Gracie. A really hard fight. Surprised I actually gave it to him. Meet the 3 fighters signed by the UFC in February. Kevin Lee, who might fight Tony Ferguson too, which is kind of cool. Whose brother's like really TikTok famous. The other thing to break down is the Jake Gyllenhaal thing. Jake Gyllenhaal had a fake fight before the fight, or in the middle of the fight. Oh, we'll see what that movie's like. That dude is wild. We'll see what that movie's like. Jay Huron, for those that don't know, was the antagonist, the bad guy in that, in the fight, who was a former UFC fighter and fought Tyron Woodley. He's most notably known for that Tyron Woodley win. Ooh, let's see this. Yeah, so Jamal Hill's talking about making money as a fighter. Yeah, for like quote. Yeah, for like right now, I'm building bridges. His answer. You know what I'm saying? I ain't nobody like that. I really like, regardless of anything, regardless of the confidence I have in myself inside the cage, I ain't nobody like that, bro. I'm just another motherfucker for real. So I don't go out there thinking like even the influence I'm realizing right now. Okay, unquote. That's a lot of nothing. Okay, his plans. Quote, so like I could talk to some people, but I don't know much people are really going to listen. So I don't know. For the most part, as far as the fighters go, I just try to be cool, get everybody to talk. You know, I'm open. I'm an open person. Okay. Never mind. I thought there was gonna be more to that, but that's just a whole lot of nothing. Okay. Never mind. All right. Let's just go ahead and get to the fights. Yeah. Okay. Sorry for quoting that. Oh man. Okay. So, fights to look out for. Tony Gravely, my buddy. Tony's fighting this weekend against Victor Henry. Both a lot of experience, Victor and Tony. 22-6, and then 23-8. I'm always gonna root for my buddy Tony. I think his wrestling, his hands are phenomenal. Bruno Silva's back to fight. Oh no, different Bruno Silva. JJ Aldrich versus Irani Lipski. I like Lipski, Queen of Violence. But I think JJ Aldrich is just going to be... Oh, maybe. Let me see their last fights. JJ's last fight. No, she lost to Erin Blanchett. I'm going to go with Lipski. See, I was getting those two confused. Yeah, no, I'm going to go with Lipski. Don't know anything about that. Rafael Sunsao versus Davey Grant. 28 wins, dog. Rafael Sunsao, man. He's not an easy fighter to beat either. Cody got him on that, like, buzzer beater knockout, but that's not a it's like not what is like, that's not who he really is. Like, he's a very hard fighter to beat. And he's 40 though. That's probably why. 40 at 135? Jeez. Yeah, he just beat Victor Henry. Look at that. 2 takedowns, 6 I mean, he's a hard fighter. His 40 is like really hard at 135 though. I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he retired after this. All right, what else? Said Nurmagomedov, the next Nurmagomedov. Fucking obviously, that's the guy I think is gonna win. Ricardo Ramos versus Austin Lingo. I like Ricardo Ramos, except when he fought Adrian Yanez. Except when he fought Yanez. Wait, did he fight Yanez? Or am I thinking of someone else? No, he fought Yanez, right? I might be thinking of someone else. What am I thinking of? Well, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm not thinking of. I'm thinking of someone else. Said beat Ricardo Ramos, yet he's fighting before. Oh, that was it. Okay, weird. Okay, whatever. All right, whatever. So then this one's interesting to me. Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann. They were supposed to fight, but then they just like threw him back on this card. I'm gonna have to pick. I hope I hope Nikita's feeling better. You know? Should be. It's been like 2 weeks. I'm still gonna go Nikita on this one because I think his striking is just, and his finishing. I think his striking is just a little bit more tuned in. You know, he has intention behind what he does, and he's got more versatility, more variety in his striking too. Alexander Volkov versus Alexander Romanov, a battle of 2 Alex Russian dudes, but 2 completely different fighters. One is a wrestling bear, and then the other one is a striking Drago looking character, right? Drago with kicks. I want to say Alexander Romanov with the win because of the wrestling ability. And the only person to beat him was Marcin Tybura in a decision. But he still got takedowns on him. I think he's going to beat Volkov on that. I mean, being younger too. Tom Aspinall got the submission on him. He's not going to sit there and stand and strike. He's going to mix it up. It'll make Volkov like hesitate a little bit more. Because when Volkov knows he's fighting a striker, he tends to be very aggressive and like be bigger. Like he acts bigger. But when he fights someone that he doesn't know if they're going to shoot on him, he tends to fight like a long, lanky, tall fighter, but tries to keep distance and stays on the back foot. All right. So in the main event, Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili. 2 hammers fighting each other. So the question is, who's going to be the nail? From what I've taken watching these guys fight, and I just recently watched some of their fights, I've seen Petr fight another hammer before, and he comes out being the bigger hammer. I've only seen Merab fight nails, right? Everyone that he fights, Jose, and even then people thought that Jose won that fight. The Marlon Moraes fight. What was the other one that I remember? Like, Ricky Simone beat you. Obviously, he's gotten better. But still. I think it might be maybe the Cody Stamann fight. But he gets hurt. Like, especially in the Marlon fight. He got hurt and comes back. With Petr, that's not going to happen. And also, I think let me finish on that point. With Petr, it's like he's going to hurt you. You can try to wrestle him, but he's going to just keep hurting you. And he'll use jiu-jitsu. Yan has pretty good jiu-jitsu. And if anything, he can create a scramble off of his jiu-jitsu. Because he'll go for a submission, and a submission will create space. And he's a very good scrambler. And he scrambles with the best of like Magomed, the Tiger, from Bellator. Magomedov. I think that's his name. Anyway, he scrambled with the best of them. He scrambled with Aljo. And I think Aljo is a better control jiu-jitsu person than Merab. I think Merab is a very ground and pound oriented person, but someone that can create a scramble. He doesn't have that like jiu-jitsu wherewithal. He's very like smash heavy. Put all of my eggs in that basket of smashing and wear you like a blanket. I think with Petr Yan, he's going to match him for power and strength, where that's not going to be able to happen. And if he tries to, he's going to force him to shoot from range that he's not going to be comfortable with. And eventually he's not going to be comfortable shooting. I think, and the biggest aspect of this fight is the 5-round thing. Merab does really well against people that start very, very fast. Petr is not a fast starter. He systematically breaks and beats you down, and I think with Merab, he's going to be able to do that, especially over 5 rounds. He's going to methodically break him down, attack him in the parts that are going to hinder him from being able to just wrestle him. He's going to kick his legs. He's going to attack the body. He's going to switch stance constantly, right? It's very hard to shoot on someone if they're switching stance. He's going to do it seamlessly, too, with his punches. That's another thing that Petr does very well, is that he'll start punching and he'll switch stance. So that way, when you're waiting for that, I'm going to just shoot on when he throws that cross, when he's throwing his jab and then he throws his cross, brings his weight back, or vice versa, throws his cross, then his jab, then, steps through. Whatever the shifting of his feet are, in those moments where you're like, I'm going to just wait for the cross and then shoot in, it's not there anymore. It's going to cause a lot of problems for Merab. And I just do not think... That's the other thing. The whole mental aspect, the reason why I think Petr's he's the uncrowned champ in my opinion. The mentality, dude. He's from Serbia. And I know Merab's from Georgia, but he's from Serbia. And he still hangs in Russia and where he's from. Merab moved to the States essentially. He goes back home and all that. But Petr is still that guy. He's still the cold, calculated killer. He's not going to quit. The style doesn't make him want to quit. It just makes him want to punch him in the face harder. And that's why I think Merab's going to win this, or Petr's going to win this fight, is just, I think it's the lack of quit in him, and I think it's the ability to just stay in that pocket when things get tough and catch counter. The catch counters. I mean, that's how Merab got caught against Moraes. He got caught in that gunsling thing where they both threw and Marlon hit him off the better angle with the left hook. And I think those are the little things. Petr has he's got the master sport in boxing. He trains in Thailand. But at the end of the day, it's that hard nose, no quit, buzzsaw mentality. And as much as Merab wants to steamroll through that, I think it's just very sloppy and not as technical. And I think that's going to cause him a lot of problems. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Hope you all enjoyed today's episode. Once again, remember, hit that noti bell, hit that subscription. Come train with me, SouthernScrapNation.com. Southern Scrap Nation, Charlotte, North Carolina. You can also reach me on my Instagram, Facebook, anywhere. Daniel Jonas, you know me. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If not, write a comment, leave a review. Either way, press the like button. Press the dislike button. Whatever. Ratio me. I don't care. I'll be back after this weekend to break down the next weekend's fight card and to break down what happened this past week or this coming weekend. All right. Until then, enjoy. Peace.